The content on this channel, including but not limited to videos, audio, commentary, graphics, and descriptions, is created for informational, educational, and/or entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed are solely those of the individual creators and do not represent the views or positions of any other person, company, organization, or entity. Any references to persons or entities are based on publicly available information, personal opinion, or satire, and should not be interpreted as factual statements unless explicitly stated as such. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental unless clearly noted. Cosmographic software assumes all damages through their actions in relation to or incurred by any prosecution from any shared content on this channel.
Gather around, everybody. Once again, it's a story time. This one is a little more close to home, a little more odd, a little strange. But I guess it fits in with the narratives that are going around today regarding UFOs, UAPs, all that fun stuff. The first UFO I ever saw was in 1996. We had a power outage. We were living in Dearborn, Michigan at the time. And it was this orange glowing ball that was flying across the sky. We were sitting outside with a babysitter. And that was followed by one or two helicopters, I think. I mean, this is 30 years ago. And then the power came back on. And this was, as I said, it was just around or after the thunderstorm. Very strange. Parents got home, told them what we saw. You kids are just seeing things and all that fun stuff. Well, I remember it very vividly, especially when you're young. That kind of stuff sticks with you. And when you watch things like the X-Files. So, following that, we had an incident happen around 2003. So in 2003, it might have been 2002, but I want to say about 2003, maybe 2004. It's hard to remember because time on the farm tended to blur together. That place, there was something wrong with it. So one night, power goes out, and the backwoods light up. And they light up this brilliant blue. Now, the image that you're seeing right now is not the actual image. This is a mock-up of what we saw from the farmhouse. Now, we were on a 40-acre farm. And my father, being who he is, always said he wanted to be abducted by aliens and all this fun stuff. Decides he's going to grab a shotgun, grabs his .44 Magnum, puts it in his holster, gets a shotgun, and tells us to stay in the house and walks off into the woods. About 2 hours later, power comes back on, blue lights start to dim. And then my oldest brother yells at my older brother, "Hey, there's somebody coming out of the woods." And my brother starts to get scared. It's just my dad walking back up to the house. Now, we asked him what he saw, and he acted very strange about it. He said, "Nothing." We're like, "You've been gone for 2 hours." "No, I've only been gone 45 minutes. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to walk from the back of the house all the way to the back of the property. Then another 20 or 30 minutes to walk back to the house. At least at the time, we had a cutout trail so you could cover it a little faster. His watch was off. And I remember that where he said, odd. And he went over to one of our atomic clocks that was in the computer room and my older brother's bedroom. And he reset his watch. And I've asked him over and over again. And as I got older, what happened back there? He said, "I don't know. I don't have any memory of anything." All he said he remembered was walking into the woods. He could see the light in the distance. And then he said, "Oh, it was just somebody's spotlight." The problem was, if you walk all the way to the back of the property, there was an oil line that ran through. And that was before you get to this wood fence. And then behind that was another 10 to 20 acres of property. And then a house way off in the distance. Nobody ever shined a light before or since. Now, does that mean my father was abducted by aliens? I don't know. I do wonder, and he's even wondered about it as he's gotten older. But he has told me he has no recollection or memory. And my father is an interesting character. He was military intelligence, and he was connected. When I FOIA'd his information, he was connected to programs that went all the way past when he was discharged. Honorable discharge, not dishonorable. And some of his photography work and research and everything that he had been involved in ended up leading to programs like Have Blue, which led to stealth bombers and other aircraft. Interesting that these strange occurrences tend to follow families. So following that, after I had a falling out with my dad, I was kicked out. In 2007, I was living at a apartment where our school was. I was staying with my mom, and this is before I moved down south. And one night, a friend of mine was visiting, and he needed to go back home. And so I walked him across town. We cut through the train depot and everything else. This is out in the middle of nowhere. And there was this kind of feeling in the air, and I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't a bad one, but it was kind of like that I learned when you're in the Everglades and a thunderstorm comes in and you kind of feel your hair start to stand up, like there's static electricity. And so there's this street that goes straight in front of me, and then a street that angles across from it, like through it at a strange, I would say 15 to 20 degree angle. This is middle of nowhere, bad street designs. And he starts walking across, going back home. I look up in the sky, and what I see overhead, my dad and I used to build model aircraft. We built a glider. We built models from the 90s up to the 2000s, just models. These were not ones that were functional. But these were aircraft. We would go to the Willow Run Air Show. We would see all of this stuff. And so I look up and I see this dark triangular shape. And on the triangle, each of the points of the triangle is this white light, like very bright white lights on the points. So I then in the middle is this, I want to like almost pulsing. It's this slow rhythmic pulsing, reddish, blood red. But when it would dim down slightly, it got more into the orange range, this weird glow. And there was no sound. And I stared at it. I don't know how long. And then I remembered my friend. I was like, dude, Nick, you got to come back here. You got to come back here. Got to see this. He comes running over. But sadly, by the time he caught up, this thing had crossed over a tree line. Now, funny enough, I went back to the apartment that night. And even back then in 2007, there were flight trackers. And I checked the roads we were on. I checked the directory that aircraft was moving. And I do think it was an aircraft. I do think it was one of ours. I don't think it was alien. It was heading towards a very famous military base in Ohio. And that was strange. So I contacted a friend of mine and we went out walking all night. We didn't see anything else. And I told him what I had seen. There may be a mock-up here on screen or not. I haven't decided while I'm recording this if I'm going to show one of what I saw, but it was very close to the Belgium triangle, which I will show here. Very weird. Following that, I had been living in Florida from 2007 till, at this point, 2010. So, in 2010, this was one of the last UFOs that I saw. But this was later in the year, I want to say, of 2010, because earlier that year, actually it was 2009, I had gone up to Michigan and I was driving the moped the previous year, actually. It would have been June 2009 was this ball that I saw, and it was hyper reflective. I thought it was a balloon. So my dad had this little moped. I sadly do not have any pictures of it. It's this little moped, so I drove it from the farm down. It took about 15 minutes to get to my friend's house. Usually we'd go down there for my birthday and throughout the summer and hang out. So I was driving the moped back down the same road as a dirt road, again, the middle of nowhere. There's a small church, about 50 plus acres of fields on one side. Neighbors are half a mile to a mile away from each other. And as I'm driving down, I see this thing through the corner of my right eye. And I hit the brakes because it was glinting. It was shining off the sun. So I pulled the bike over and I was staring at it. And it was floating over the field, and I was looking for wires. Then maybe they're putting up a weather balloon or something. But I didn't see anybody. And this thing just sat there over this field. So kept my eyes on it, and strapped to the back of the motorbike, I had my camera. So I keep my eyes on this ball, and I'm going to get my camera, and I'm trying to undo it, and I just want to make sure it's going to stay there so I can get my camera out to get a picture. I look down for 1 second to unlatch something to get my camera out, and I look back up, and the thing is gone completely. Of course, I'm looking everywhere in the sky, and I'm trying to figure out where the hell did this thing go. Sadly, that's a mystery I will never know. So I stayed there as the sun was going down. I waited a bit, got back on the bike, started it back up, drove it for the next 10, 15 minutes back to the farm. Walked inside, brothers are watching TV, dad's there, and I said, "You're not going to believe this, guys. I just saw a UFO." "Nah, you're bullshitting. What do you say?" Told him what I saw, and my dad said, "Oh, that's one of ours." And then my brother was like, "Yeah, that's probably an observation craft. They do that a lot around these areas." I'm like, "How the hell do you guys know this? Where are you coming from with that information?" Still have not had that information provided to me, though my dad has told me many times. He was not happy when I fired him, but he has told me many times that he knows things that if he told any of us, that we would no longer exist. And not to stay YouTube friendly, because they went after a video before. Now let's move on a year later, which the photo will be showed here. So I was going to a joint campus with my mom was the one also going to the main university, but I was going between both. This was a joint campus in South Florida. So at the end of the day, we were driving back. The sun was just starting to go down. And so it's angled off, I want to say, to our left. And we're going down the main road. And I see people on the side of the road pointing up. And at the time, I had an LG Cosmos. So this was not a fancy phone. That's why the photo doesn't look so good. But I can describe to you what I saw directly with my eyes. So this is like, there's a keyboard and you slide the thing up. So I pull the phone out. But my mom was driving a Chevy Cobalt. It doesn't really matter, but, I'm painting the picture here. And I said, "Holy shit, Mom, do you see that?" So this thing comes off from my left, from the photo that you're seeing now, or sorry, my right, moves over the road counter to the wind, stops over the street, and I can see underneath is this gold brass kind of ring. And around this, on the left side of, and I'm going to call it a craft, it's shimmering. And I don't know how to describe it. It's like if water was rippling. It was very strange. And sadly, and this is actually why my sister and my father bought me my camera that year and a half later, give or take, because weird stuff happens in Florida, as they say. But so this thing is shimmering, and I see it kind of tilt, and I took the picture where the sun was hitting it at this odd angle, and it almost has this like point on the left side that's coming off. And within less than 30 seconds of my taking that picture, it tilts, floats off, like it looks like it tilted upwards. And it had this ring on the bottom that looked like it was ribbed for her pleasure, as they say. And it moves off to the right, tilts back up, and does this like if you threw a rock into water. Only if you threw the rock into the water and you saw the ripple from where the ripple started in the middle, there was nothing in the middle the moment that it started. Like it just disappeared. Like it was fucking strange. And I did file that with MUFON, but they got a couple reports, but the only photo they had was mine. The only thing they were able to do was to say that the photo was legitimate. And that was the last UFO that I think I've seen outside of a couple ones that I think are easily explainable. You got iridium satellites and all that shit, and you got other stuff that happens. And sometimes you just see a flash of light. And I've seen ball lightning when I was on the farm. A color of Mace Windu's lightsaber. I woke up one night, sleeping on the couch in the living room, and I had this weird feeling, looked up above me, and floating right in front of me, right over my head, is like it looks like a lightsaber, but it's a ball. And it's got like that magenta, purplish color, and it floats there, and I go, what the fuck? And then it shot off over my head, slammed into the bookshelf, and there was this loud bang, and the whole house shook. Everybody woke up, and yeah, and they were blaming me. I was like, no, it was, and I describe it as like looking like Mace Windu's lightsaber. But beyond all that, when it comes to the UFO issue, I don't know what it is, but I do know they're real. And I actually have gone to groups where I've talked with other people, and I've seen other people's photos and other people's evidence. And there was an interesting thing that I will cover in a future story time, because I don't want this video to go on too long. And when it comes to the alien or future humans or time travelers or something like that, I do know personally that there's something to the phenomenon. As for what the government knows, well, I have all the documents downloaded. I downloaded all the British documents from years ago, and I downloaded all the stuff from the Department of War from this year, and a lot of the declassified documents over the last 25, 30 plus years. And we've had declassification going on for 60 years now. Soft declassification, soft disclosure. But I have a poster, which I'm going to now show here. And I've had this for many years. It took me a long time to get this actual poster. It was actually a pain in the ass to get I think it's season 7 poster from X-Files. But I often think about it where it's not that I want to believe, because I don't believe anything. But I will quote what Carl Sagan said. I don't want to believe, I want to know. And when you scratch that itch, when I have dug very deep into ufology and talked with many people in various positions, some of them I can't even disclose who they are. I have talked with my brother and stuff about this. And we're at a point now where something is going to happen, and I don't know what that is. More than likely, what'll happen, and if I were to guess, is at the end of all this, they'll disclose that UFOs, UAPs, and all this stuff, USOs, submersible objects and transmedium objects and all this are real. They won't show the alien bodies, obviously. If they do, I would be incredibly surprised. And then everybody's just going to say, okay, how does this pay for my mortgage? How does this keep a roof over my head? How do I get food for my family? And because the soft disclosure has already happened, nobody's going to care. They're going to go, oh, cool, so there's aliens or fucking time travelers or something. Great. Even though it should be one of the most revolutionary things to ever happen to our species. But every day, I always look up, and I take walks at night, as I tell everybody, watch the skies, because as Mulder put it, the truth is out there.